On a cool evening in July 2021, what started off as a regular Saturday night at Planet Fun turned into a nightmare that no one could have dreamt up when one ride malfunctioned and flung its passengers to the ground. How exactly did this happen? What were the events that led up to the swing collapse? How many were injured? And how many lost their lives? This is the heartbreaking story of the Starflyer swing ride, an attraction that promised thrills but delivered a horrifying tragedy. The day was Saturday, the 24th of July, 2021, and the location, Planet Fun, Northern Ireland. The evening was the perfect time to be out. The summer air was just right to keep thrill seekers excited and looking forward to visiting more rides and attractions. Families, friends, and individuals looking for a bit of fun met at the amusement park to enjoy the bright lights and charming atmosphere. The colorful carousel spun with joy, the merry-go-round horses carried happy children, and the air was filled with the sweet smell of cotton candy. A faint sound of upbeat music mixed with people laughing and talking created an energetic symphony. People of all ages lined up with eager smiles and their eyes shone excitedly. They came to Planet Fun to escape their everyday lives and have an experience that would take them to a world full of exciting adventures. In the midst of all the bustle of Planet Fun, the Starflyer swing ride stood, a beautiful giant that dominated the park's skyline. Starflyer is a tower-based amusement ride that allows riders to sit in chairs suspended from a spinning gondola. As the ride progresses, the gondola also moves up and down the tower. The vast structure that promised a rush of energy like no other, and it had been running all day, taking brave people on a trip that would test their guts and rattle their nerves. In the lively atmosphere of the park, not even the most pessimistic individual would have foreseen the tragedy that was just about to occur. A tragedy that would change the course of this happy evening for good. Can we predict bad things before they happen? If we could, can we do anything to stop them? Do we have the power to change fate? These are questions we sometimes think about, and as the sun descended over Planet Fun, there was no doubt that those present at the park were wondering the same after the dust had cleared. That evening, the Starflyer swung and stood brightly, as if it wasn't about to ruin lives. There was a sense of normalcy in the air as people waited eagerly for their turn to go on this exciting journey. Even though they were excited and waiting, they didn't know that night was just around the corner, ready to break the moment's peace. It wasn't long before the next set of riders got buckled into their seats and were enjoying the ride. But no sooner had they gotten started on the fun did the Starflyer swing ride malfunction. Instead of going up to the top of the tower, the seats only got 2 meters off the ground. Before anyone could even complain about the sudden stop, the swings started to move around on their own, hitting the seats and lights as they spun wildly around the ride. Chaos broke out immediately, and that was only just the beginning. As the metal parts of the ride crashed violently against each other, the loud, angry noises resonated throughout the park. Bystanders ran away, desperately trying to escape the swinging ride's uncertain path, while riders hung on helplessly as their fate was left uncertain. Then, as if the situation wasn't bad enough, the swing lines, which were the seats' lifelines and kept them in place, broke under pressure. The loud sound of the strings snapping rang through the night, sending a wave of fear through everyone there. With the swings lined broken, there was nothing to keep them from moving all over the place, like as if they were being controlled by angry spirits. Screams cut through the air, and the sounds of metal breaking together mixed with them to make a symphony of horror and hopelessness. During the chaos, the innocent guests, who were once excited and laughing, found themselves in a nightmare as the ride tossed them around like rag dolls. Fear set in, and their screams of terror mixed with the chaos around them. As the chaos grew, emergency services and paramedics rushed to the scene, running against the clock to help the people who were hurt in this terrible accident. The sound of grating metal was finally cut by the blare of sirens. In a sea of panic, their appearance was a lighthouse of hope that gave people a little bit of comfort. Urgency filled the air as the medical team swiftly transported the injured to different medical facilities, each destination serving as a lifeline for those in desperate need of care. 2 of the victims were taken to the Royal Belfast Hospital for Sick Children, their young bodies bearing the weight of both physical and emotional trauma. Meanwhile, 2 others were rushed to the Royal Victoria Hospital, where medical professionals fought to save lives hanging in the balance. Additionally, They took one adult and one child to Antrim Area Hospital. Their injuries were a stark reminder of the fragility of human existence. There were wailing and tears on the faces of everyone that day. Each prayed to his God for the survival of the victims. Children who witnessed the incident couldn't stop crying as they held their mothers tightly. DUP Councillor John McDermott, present at the scene later, stood in utter shock and disbelief as he witnessed the aftermath of the tragedy. There was a mixture of sadness and hope in his voice as he spoke.
There was one lady I saw, and her young nipper must have been about 2 or 3 foot tall, must have been on the ride, and she was obviously she was standing watching, and she was in worse condition than the child was.
He told the onlookers that the sight before them was a total shock. He narrated to the onlookers what had happened and how the swings had come loose and crashed onto the roof of the entrance hut. The kids were then thrown out onto the ground and the grass. In his statement, he said he was led to believe there were no fatalities and prayed to God that it stays that way. The amount of damage done by the loose swings was a clear sign of how much force was let free. The once majestic swings were broken and twisted, and the tragedy that had happened had turned them into a haunting memory of what had happened. The sight was one no parent, child, or individual had to see. The way bodies flew from the ride was an image that the brain would find difficult to part with. The once grand swings were now broken and twisted, and instead of being a beautiful sight, they were a haunting reflection of the tragedy that had happened. The Starflyer swing ride went from being a source of joy to a bearer of disaster, and left a community broken and trying to figure out what had happened. Let's dig deeper into the official statements and investigations surrounding the tragic incident at Planet Fun, as authorities worked tirelessly to uncover the truth. There were several rumors regarding the cause of the entire accident, but let us look at what Planet Fun had to say about the terrible incident. In their official statement, Planet Fun assured the public that there were no mechanical defects with the Starflyer ride. They pointed to the misuse of equipment by several teenagers as the cause of the incident, promising a thorough investigation. After a preliminary investigation, the authorities cleared the amusement park of mechanical defects. However, out of an abundance of caution, the Starflyer ride remained closed. Further safety checks and a comprehensive investigation were deemed necessary to ensure the safety of future visitors. The police took charge of the investigation. They delved into the tragic event's circumstances. Their primary focus was to determine the exact cause of the malfunction and to hold responsible parties accountable, especially regarding the reported equipment misuse. Health Minister Robin Swan expressed relief that there were no fatalities due to the incident. He extended his gratitude to the swift and dedicated response of the ambulance, paramedics, and fire crews, acknowledging their pivotal role in preventing further tragedy. He wished everyone, especially the victims, a speedy recovery, and sincerely thanked the ambulance, paramedics, and fire crews that responded so rapidly to what could have been something more tragic. Those who were not victims but were present when the incident occurred also need emotional healing. As investigations unfolded, the focus turned to understanding the full scope of the tragedy. The statements made by Planet Fun, the ongoing investigations, and the health minister's expression of relief all played a crucial role in pursuing justice, ensuring accountability, and averting future incidents of this nature. That Saturday evening in July became a living hell for many. Luckily, there were no fatalities. But just imagine what would have happened if someone had fallen in the wrong path, or if the gondola had risen a few more feet before everything went wrong. This story could have had an entirely different ending, but it doesn't make it any less harrowing knowing that the night you came out to let loose could be the same night a horrific accident would leave you in the hospital.